Are you ready to take your business to the next level? Every day there are countless books and articles that are published offering the key on how to make your business a success. It's easy to feel overwhelmed trying to keep up and run your business. That's why Deb Creer created the Business Power Hour. Keep up on the latest trends, best practices, and techniques for how to make your business a success. Let the Business Power Hour do the heavy work for you.
Good morning. Good morning. I am Deb Creer, and I am passionate about giving professionals the tools that they need to make themselves and their businesses as successful as possible. And we're going to be talking about several different things today, but a big part of it is we're going to be talking about health, your physical health. I firmly believe that if our mental and our physical health is not where it should be, our business is not going to matter. So we have to do what we can to optimize our physical and our mental well-being. And so please join me in welcoming Jenn Malecha to our program today. Welcome, Jenn. How are you?
Fantastic, Deb. Thank you so much for having me today to share some wealth of knowledge with your audience.
I love it. And you're going to have so much knowledge. So let me tell people a little bit about you, and then we'll jump into this. So Jenn Malecha, the Wholistic Health Boss, helps career-driven, results-focused functional health entrepreneurs make $10,000 or more per month quickly by finding their ideal clients with a start-to-finish approach to building, pricing, selling, and efficiently delivering their programs so they can scale their impacts and income. As a health business advisor with over a decade of business and project management experience, training in functional diagnostic nutrition and transformational coaching, Jenn has helped hundreds of functional health practitioners create profitable practices that allow them to heal hundreds of people while working less and taking better care of themselves. So welcome, Jenn. I love all of this because what you're talking about is for every entrepreneur. And so I love this. But tell us a little bit more about how it is that you got to where you are today, and how did you discover that this is your passion in life?
Yeah, well, long story short, if we can keep it that way, is that I've always kind of been a health-minded person myself.
Mm-hmm.
I went to college and studied kinesiology
Mm-hmm.
and pursued a career path in the fitness industry
Mm-hmm.
first. And then wanted to have a greater impact in the world and move to corporate wellness.
Mm-hmm.
If I was working one-on-one with my personal training clients and managing a gym, my impact was limited in that capacity.
Mm-hmm.
So I had a greater impact, and went into the corporate wellness world when it was emerging back in the mid-early 2000s or so. Dating myself here saying that. And got into that, and it was definitely a nice change, but it still wasn't really the most fulfilling work that I could be. And along that journey, I also was encountering my own health challenges. Even though I felt like I was armed with all of this education and knowledge about fitness, nutrition, and health, like there was just pieces of my health puzzle that were missing. And eventually I was diagnosed with skin cancer at the age of 25, despite all of my healthy habits and health, which led me to explore and seek out other answers and alternative solutions to health. And that's how I got to be a functional health practitioner over 10 years ago, back in 2012, actually. And that was my true calling. I just felt like going into that sphere helped me to not only resolve all of my health issues. I'm sitting here with you today, over 15 years skin cancer free at this point in time. It also has helped me, those principles and that approach to health has helped me to overcome other health hurdles that I've encountered along the way, because, life still happens. We, at one point in time, found mold in our house, and that contributed to an experience of photos and estrogen dominance and other things that I was able to overcome. And through all of that, I had this passion and desire to help other health entrepreneurs, other functional health practitioners, and realized that I had a unique set of skills having come from the corporate space and also just in who I am uniquely designed as a person. I love the concept of human design, that I could lend wisdom and experience to other health professionals to help them not only like create a business where they had a greater impact and income, but also to design a business around like being supportive of their own personal health. Because, you know, what is the whole point of being in the health profession if we are just, you know, constantly sacrificing our health to save others, right? And so we have this responsibility to lead by example as health professionals. How do we design our career and our business in a way that is going to support us in taking the best care of ourselves so that we can for people, and then therefore being able to have more energy and vitality and resiliency to have that impact, which is going to income and all the things, and it comes full circle when we right.
I love it. I love it. You know, and so much in here now to talk about. You know, I love the fact that you took what you're good at and now you're using it to help others. And so many times I talk with entrepreneurs and small business owners who had something they thought, this is the greatest thing in the world. It is my passion. It is my vision. I want to do it. I want to focus on that. I don't want to do the businessy parts. Right. And because they don't do the businessy parts, they're not successful. You know, or they get so caught up in doing the businessy parts that they no longer are able to do what they love. And so I love that you help those who are in this industry to do that. And, you know, and I am a marketing person, my background. And so one of the things I always tell people is you absolutely have to find your niche. And boy, howdy did you, you know, and I love that because, you know, why, first of all, why did you decide you were going to get that specific? Because that is very specific.
Yeah, it is. And I preach right there along with you in this regard of like, you know, being able to design a business that's going to support health, niche is part of that, right? And I came to this conclusion myself. I realized that, as the saying goes, when you're trying to help everybody, you're helping no one.
Right.
And that is like, you know, kind of the pitfall of being a health practitioner or a health coach is that a lot of times we're so heart-centric. And we see when you have this health knowledge, you can see how everybody needs help. So you want to help everybody.
Right.
And what happens then is that when you're not niche down, constantly kind of reinventing the wheel, it is a consumption of time and energy when you're trying to serve everybody, that it's not an efficient capacity in which, and so therefore it is exhausting. It's burning out, and then we turn into those burnt out healers. We can't serve from that space. Right. And so I think that it's like, you know, coming to that realization, I didn't do it right in the beginning. I thought I could help everybody, and really quickly realized that there were people that were best aligned for me to work with, where it wasn't energy draining. They were most compliant. They got the greatest versus others. And it wasn't that I was leaving those others behind, not giving them resources. It really inspired me to collaborate with other colleagues. A Rolodex of resources where if something wasn't the right fit for me, how could I still show up with integrity and authenticity and serve by referring them to a place or a person or a resource that was most aligned for them. Right.
I love that, you know, and we get so caught up in, you know, and especially when we start out, I have to serve everyone because I have these bills that I have to pay. But when you're not working with the right people, you might not give 100%. They might not give 100%. You know, like you might say, hey, you know, I want you to follow these instructions. And I might go, sure, but then I don't. Right. And you never have that happen, I'm sure. But, you know, and it's not that they don't want to, but there's just something going on. Whereas somebody else might be able to motivate them a little bit differently. And so you can refer to that person. That person's happy. The person that you were working with was happy because now they're getting their needs served and you're not kind of being sucked by them. Because that's what ends up happening is they end up being kind of that time suck, that time drain, where you could be working with people who are the best fit. And it is such a great concept because being able to, as you said, have that Rolodex and say, which, okay, for you youngsters, that's your contact list, right? Your friend list, your LinkedIn connections. That is, for one thing, it's just smart business to know all of those other people and to be doing kind of the refer back and forth thing. But yeah, there are always times where it's just not a good fit for whatever reason. Sometimes it might be distance. Somebody might come to you from, I'm in Atlanta. You're not, and so you're out on the left coast, Yes, the left coast, the right coast. I get those coasts mixed up. You're on the other side. And so it might be better to be able to work in person. So if you know somebody here that you can refer me to, that's great. But, it's also just a sound business principle. We shouldn't be working with people who we are not able to give 100% to, and that's a really scary thing. And I think that's one of the scariest things with, developing your niche is saying, I'm not going to serve everybody.
Yes, it is so hard. It's especially again from the people that I work with, like those professionals,
Right.
heart-centered, and they feel as though they're leaving people behind or doing service. Really, you're being of greatest service in that moment, right?
Right.
So, and to the point of in the beginning when we're all getting started, I do think that it also is critically important to work with the people who are not aligned for you. It's such, right? It's one of the exercises that I take people through when they work with me on the business coaching side of, every like couple of clients, like sit down and reflect and look at, the people that have been a little bit of a struggle to work with, challenging, they're not compliant, there's a resistance there. Like maybe it's okay, we can admit this, like you might dread showing up to that session.
Yeah.
It's the people that light you up that are easy, and just start to like do some reflection about those nuances. Like what are some of the ways that each of those individuals show up in their own, unique way individually, as like the way that they talk, like what are the words that they're using, looking back at when they contacted you to talk about working with you, what did they submitted information to have consultation with you to explore working with you. And now we can start to pick up on some of the nuances and really start to clearly define the niche. Like, I don't know about you, Deb, but I find that in the niching down process, it is, as it was in my experience, as I see in the health professionals that I work with, it is kind of like a 3-year refinement process
Right.
of data collection information that helps you like get clear, right? So you pick a starter niche of what I know now about my ideal client is person. I'm going to go out into the industry and I'm going to start to do work, and I'm going to take the feedback, the inputs that I'm getting from working with these people to help me to refine, get aligned. And I would say that over the process of about 3 years is what I see, is that it becomes so obvious and stable, then there is no more question.
Right.
And when you're really aligned with it, it's like the best people are just starting to come in, or what to say on social media or in your marketing to attract the right people and help the other ones.
Right. And I love that you say repel, because we're not saying that in a bad way.
Right.
It's a matter of, I would read your social media post and go, that's for me, that's not for me. Right. And it's just that simple, because, it's, do I want the blue car? Do I want the red car? Yeah. Right. And so we're not saying one is good, one is bad. It's just, I can do the blue car. Somebody else does the red car. And that's perfectly fine. Because there's so much business to go around, but then there's that other thing, that business, that word, where when you have, especially someone like you, a heart centered business where you truly want to help everyone, a lot of times you end up forgetting that it's a business. Not you, because you got this down, but someone who is new. They do want to help everyone. They don't always charge what they should. They might get taken advantage of, and all of those things. And so again, I love that you help people through that process.
Yeah, and that is just part of like owning our own worth and our value.
Right.
We know that people are more committed when they make an investment. That becomes part of where I see so many health professionals and early entrepreneurs kind of exactly like struggle, is that they're giving their services away for free and feeling the frustration of the person on the other side of that, not reciprocating with the same, because there was no exchange of an investment that was made. It's not an initial exchange of energy or currency there to make that a successful venture. I see this sometimes too in people doing trading. You see this as well, but entrepreneurs, especially when they're getting started, there's not a lot of business capital, money, monetary resources to grow. And so people will trade.
Right.
And I think
I'll do this for you. You do my marketing.
Right. Like I'll do your website in exchange for massages or like health coaching. And I think that even in those moments, we have to be very clear about the exchange of
right. Is it equal?
Exactly. How do you work with that? So, and all of it comes down to, the conservation of energy in a lot of ways, and how you show up in your best capacity in the world. And you have to have the energy to do that. So we need to be thinking about what is the greatest investment of our energy to get the greatest ROI.
Right.
Return on that investment, whatever you're putting out there. How do we come back? How do we receive then also in that exchange?
Right. Because we have to make money in order to continue doing our business, in order to serve people. Doesn't matter what it is, and unless we win the lottery, which since I don't buy tickets, I guess that's not going to work. But yeah, and so it's interesting because so many people, they look at it and they're like, ew, kind of like sales, right? Nobody wants to do sales. Well, no, we have to do sales. I don't care if you don't like it or not. You have to do sales because sales is what brings business in. And so they're not dirty words. They're not bad words. They're part of doing business. If you want to give your I had somebody tell me one time, if you don't want to charge, that's great, but that's a hobby. And that's perfectly fine. I mean, there are a lot of people who that is what they do. But when you're doing it for business, this was 30-ish years ago when I was setting up my business, I had someone tell me, stop treating it like a hobby, because it's other people will treat it like it's your hobby also. Same thing, with charging. If I don't charge, then they're going to think it's a hobby. So, it doesn't matter if I return your calls or your emails or anything like that. It is a business, and there are certain things that you have to do, anymore. You have to have a website. You shouldn't have an AOL address. Now, we might have some of those things. Okay, we had a little technical glitch here, folks. So we're going to try and jump back into where we are. I am in Atlanta and I am having stormy weather. And you know what happens with stormy weather? Yeah, your internet sometimes goes down or it gets a little bit glitchy, but we'll soldier on, right? This will work just fine. But, we were talking about the fact that it is not a hobby. It can be a hobby if you don't want to charge. But if you want it to be a business and you wanted people to treat you like it is a business, then you have to charge, and charge what you're worth. I have this friend who has written this great article for Forbes. She's known for doing this article, and she's very fun at this. It was, and the article was, "No, you can't pick my brain. It costs too much." And she wrote that for the people who say, "Jen, can we just go for coffee? I just want to talk to you for a little bit." And, and that's great, but there's only so many times that we can go out for coffee. But more importantly, they're wanting to get knowledge and information from you that you can be charging for. I wouldn't say, hey, Jen, can you develop a diet for me? And you have frozen up again.
I can still hear you.
Okay, so we're just going to keep going. This will be fun. So I'm saying I'm unstable. We know that I'm unstable. So we're just going to keep going, right? But they're wanting to pick our brains and get something for free. Now, they might not mean bad with that, right? We all like having those coffees where we're getting together with friends, but there reaches a point where we have to draw the line, and so maybe it's okay, I'll do a 15-minute consultation, or at least buy me coffee, if things like that. But yeah, we have to value ourselves first before anybody else will value us.
That is so true. That is so very true. And we want to respect ourselves, right? Respect in a way as well, as that, you've invested time and money into your education to accumulate the wisdom and the knowledge. And I love, like, one of my dear friends and colleagues, Sinclair Canali, talks about, you want your prices, like, your offers to reflect, not just that it's not about the time that you put in, but it is the years of experience and wisdom that you collected, and the investment in yourself as well. So, like, we think about when we're working with somebody, if that person is aligned with us, a lot of times that they're like a reflection of us. They want the solutions that we currently have, kind of giving them the cliff notes, right? We're quickening the process for them. They don't have to, spend the years and money that you maybe did to get to where you are. So, like, a great example that I have for this is, in the beginning, I spent over $20,000 investing in business and marketing training for myself as a health practitioner. And one of the issues with that for me, Deb, was that in the functional health space, we operate so much differently than a lot of other industries. It's a very unique type of clientele that we work with, and a very unique way in which we work with these individuals. And so a lot of, like, business and marketing trainings were generalized for life coaches or health coaches, and they didn't really touch on these nuances that functional health professionals specifically had. So I had to figure out, how do I take this information from these trainings that I'm investing in, how do I augment them to be applicable in the way that I operate as a functional health practitioner? And so I figured some things out, and now I get to share that knowledge and that wisdom with other functional health practitioners and coaches, which is essentially saving them the years and the $20,000 that I'm giving them the fast track roadmap, the cliff notes, to that place.
Right. But again, you're charging for it.
Yes.
Right.
Exactly. And the reality is that in any capacity, I think, if any entrepreneur or business, in a lot of the ways that we work, is that we are taking somebody on a journey, and a journey to transformation specifically. So whether you are a website designer as an entrepreneur, or you're a functional health practitioner, we're not going to transform somebody's experience in one 5-minute conversation, or even one lunch hour or coffee date. It is a process of transformation to get there. Nobody walks out of one session with everything that they need. And one conversation, there's more to that process. And that's where, we can take a look at that concept and go, how do I actually transform somebody's life from a health professional standpoint, or how do I transform their business? And what are the step-by-step, what's the step-by-step process that I would take through in order to create that transformation, right? The journey of that. So that's where we can be really clear about what it takes, and we can have an initial conversation. We can also then enlighten somebody and say, hey, I'm happy to have this initial conversation with coffee or whatever it might be, but know that this, like where you want to go,
Mhm.
takes time. It's a
Mhm.
transformation. So
Mhm.
also talk about what support or resources would you need
Mhm.
to get to where it is that you want to
Mhm.
be. Exactly.
Right. Right. Yeah. And of course, one of the big things is if we're doing this, we have to have people that we are providing a service for. We might think it's pretty great, but I talk to so many people who think it's kind of like the field of dreams. If we build it, they will come.
Mhm.
And it doesn't work that way. We have to market. I mentioned this sales word. So, what do you think? And it's gotten incredibly confusing. I mean, I started my career 30-ish years ago where it was pretty simple. We had print, we had radio, and we had television, and then we could do direct mail and things like that. But Al Gore had not yet invented the internet. And so I didn't have to worry about that. And it really was fairly easy to reach the people we needed to reach. And it seems now like every day there's something new. So, what do you think are the most effective marketing strategies for today? Like I said, they add stuff tomorrow.
Yeah. So people are going to get tired of us saying this, but everything to me goes back to your niche.
Mm-hmm.
So your niche determines the need
Mm-hmm.
or the action that you should take. It is
Right.
the green light for everything in your business.
Mm-hmm.
Because whatever we're going to do in terms of marketing, right, we want to get the greatest return on our investment
Mm-hmm.
of time and money in terms
Mm-hmm.
of. So when we come back to the niche, when we know who this ideal person
Mm-hmm.
is intimately, where do they spend their time? How do they like to consume?
Mm-hmm.
And all of the answers to where your greatest marketing opportunities come from your niche, that
Mm-hmm.
ideal person. Now you know, oh, they like Instagram versus Facebook
Mm-hmm.
in my case, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or they're not somebody that's really on social media.
Mm-hmm.
More about networking and community, for example. So your marketing strategy becomes, getting out and doing talks. Or at one time in my business, this really shifted, like knowing who my ideal client was and doing a
Mm-hmm.
little bit of what's called target market
Mm-hmm.
research on them, exploring nuances about them. Early on in my business, my health business, my clients were going out and searching the internet for information with online journals and articles through
Mm-hmm.
like Mind Body Green and
Mm-hmm.
Elephant Journal. So
Mm-hmm.
that was one of my marketing
Mm-hmm.
strategies to get published in
Mm-hmm.
those places, to get in front of my ideal
Mm-hmm.
client, going there and spending time
Mm-hmm.
there. And then later in my business, as I did target market research again, which is a strategy everybody should apply in their business from time to time on a regular basis, that shifted about my ideal client. So they were no longer putting energy and time into online journals.
Mm-hmm.
They were now more interested in podcast.
Okay.
I said, well, why am I going to like waste my time
Mm-hmm.
and pay team members to get me published in these
Mm-hmm.
online journals when my ideal audience, my ideal clientele isn't there
Mm-hmm.
anymore?
Right.
Shifted the strategy to, I checked in and I was like, I don't want to do my own podcast. So props to you, Deb, for doing your own podcast.
And a lot of it. Oh. Mm-hmm.
But I love to be a guest. So
Right.
my
Mm-hmm.
marketing strategy
Mm-hmm.
shifted into being a podcast guest.
Right.
And that has now been a great resource for
Mm-hmm.
getting clients into my health
Mm-hmm.
business.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of different options that are
Mm-hmm.
out there. So I would say to answer that question in summary is know who your ideal niche is, that ideal client,
Mm-hmm.
understand where they spend their time, and then how do you get in front of them? And then also it's important to check in with ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
We like to spend our time, right?
Right.
If you're resisting or forcing yourself,
Mm-hmm.
let's just say if you're forcing yourself to be
Mm-hmm.
on Facebook and you don't love it,
Mm-hmm.
energy is going to show up there.
Mm-hmm. Right. You're not going to post often. You're not going to read other posts, all sorts of things. Mm-hmm.
You're just like checking a box. It's not the greatest quality
Mm-hmm.
content. And even like you might say, well, then I could hire somebody else to do it, but then it's not maybe authentically you.
Mm-hmm.
And so it can attract the wrong people. Like this is where we can get really
Mm-hmm.
clear to make sure that we are showing up in a
Mm-hmm.
way that's going to attract the right
Mm-hmm.
people and repel the people that aren't ideal for
Right.
us.
Right.
And okay. You don't have to be in every platform, in every
Mhm.
space. Like some people might say that TikTok is the trending place to be right now.
Mhm.
I have zero interest in being on TikTok.
Me, yeah. Mhm.
I
Yep.
don't I
Mhm.
don't have the app. None of my ideal clients that show up
Mhm.
on my business are on TikTok,
Right.
and that's okay. Versus
Mhm.
I know other colleagues of mine where it is a
Right.
like effective for them, and that's great for
Mhm.
them.
Mhm.
Right?
Right. Yeah, it's so funny because I was thinking of that. I got an email yesterday for somebody trying to sell me something, and they said, "Please go to TikTok and watch this video." And my response was, "I don't have a TikTok account." Crickets, right? Because they immediately went, right? They literally had no idea what to respond. So clearly I was not their audience, and that was fine that we weren't trying to force it. But it was so interesting because that was their only option. I attended Podfest earlier this year. Love Podfest, great thing. If you are a podcaster, it's a wonderful place to go. But you've got all these fabulous speakers, and you get to the end, and it's how do we reach them? And the younger ones all say, reach me on Instagram.
Mm.
And I finally put my little old hand up and I said, some of us are old and we're not on Instagram. And I mean, they would look at me like, Granny, go home. And but again, it was like, okay, well, clearly we're not supposed to be interacting, but it is they limited themselves by not doing that. But again, maybe it was that I just wasn't supposed to be connecting with them. So you never know. I mean, you kind of have to weigh those things. Every once in a while, I come across somebody who doesn't have email. I'm like, you don't have email? How do you survive without email? Wouldn't life be a heck of a lot easier? But at the same point, it's like, oi. But yeah, you need to know where to reach your clients and your potential clients. And part of that is that whole avatar thing of knowing what is their age, what are their demographics. I've had guests on before who they have talked about you actually create an image of them. And it's great now with AI, right? You could tell it, I went to, and they're going to create a pretty good image for you. And then they have it where it's like pasted to their computer screen. And so they are writing everything they do for that person.
Mm.
Now, are you maybe eliminating some who might spend money with you? Well, maybe. If they're going to spend money with you, they'll find you, right? But it's and I've told this story before, several times on the podcast. I was at a networking thing, and you go around, who's your ideal client, right? And this woman said she sold skincare products, and her ideal market was everyone because we all have skin, right? I mean, that was kind of an obvious, but none of us knew how to refer to her. So we kind of worked a bit and tweaked things. And so the next time she comes, she says, I sell skincare products for teenage boys who have acne. And every single person went, I know them. And could they sell to teenage girls with acne? Yes. Could they sell to middle-aged women with acne? Yes. All of those various things. But when we all knew who the best client was for them, then we could help them. And that's the other part of niching. I mean, I want people to be able to say, here's who I'm going to refer to you, and not because if they don't, they're not going to refer anybody.
It is so true. And that's where like getting clear in the beginning helps you to communicate. It helps to market yourself. It helps people to connect with you, helps them to understand. They can go, oh yeah, I know somebody like that. Like you just explained. It's so perfect. And this is where, the other way that we get really clear on this, Deb, is working one-on-one with people.
Right.
This intimate capacity and we work one-on-one with people helps us really understand these nuances. And I would say that this is really where I see a pitfall in health entrepreneurship right now. And I would guesstimate that this might be true in other industries as well too, is there is kind of like a hype cycle around going out and doing group programs, courses, without this context of who the ideal client is, that person. And there is so much to be gleaned, like we talked about earlier, in working in that one-on-one capacity and understanding those, little signs of who's the right person, who's the wrong person, what is the language that they're using, the words that they're using, how are they showing up, describing their problems and the solutions that they're looking for. And then working with them in that one-on-one capacity, we can then really truly understand our method of producing that transformation. And that all becomes the context then to help you develop group programs, courses, DIY things, or done with you that are going to reach a specific audience and be like engaging and successful as well too. And there's a whole element. I love that you're on the marketing side of things, because there's another element of marketing is like when we're getting started in our business, we often don't really have an email list or much of it. Right. So in order to generate significant income or revenue from lower end products, you need to have like group programs, courses, things. You need to have a significant size of audience to sell those things to. So in the beginning, when we work one-on-one and we have profitable offers in place, packages, programs that we've designed to work in that one-on-one capacity, it's doing our businesses two services. It's helping us to get clear in our method of transformation and working with somebody to kind of prove our concept a bit. And in that capacity, we have the greatest ability to create financial stability from a single client, a single interaction, while we're building up our email list and our audience to do the more scalable, higher impact, volume type of strategies. Would you agree?
I do. And that comes back to, we think we need to reach as many people as possible. No, now that's not to say that going and speaking and giving presentations and things like that is not a good thing. I mean, that is a good way to get your message out there, whether you're talking to chambers or rotaries or church groups or whatever, industry conferences, things like that. But the money comes from those one-on-ones, and then the cool thing is you make them happy. They're going to go do the marketing for you, because they're going to tell all their friends on whatever their social platform is, or, any of those. Oh my gosh, you have to work with Jenn, and I'm going to pay more attention to that than any ad, anything else, because that we like word of mouth. There is something, and that's why Yelp and things like that are so popular. We pay more attention to people we have never met, will never met, don't even know if they're real, than we do to the business. And I think that's one of the things that's always interesting. I deal with my clients with that. They're like, well, do we have to have reviews? Yes, you have to have reviews, because people are going to pay more attention to that, even the bad stuff. And the important thing is then you fix the bad stuff. You don't ignore the bad stuff. And that's the really important thing, because people are scared of reviews. I don't want somebody saying bad about me, but if somebody says something bad about me, then I want the opportunity to hopefully make it better. Sometimes you can't, but you want other people to see that you tried.
Exactly. And it's, that feedback, it's not failure, it's feedback, right? And assignment process of how do we just keep elevating ourselves, providing, more excellent service, like an experience for people that results in the ideal people. And, there's kind of a saying that goes like, you've made it when you have haters on the internet. Like, it's just part of the territory. It's going to happen. And that's, can't take it personal. We just, we really want to utilize those moments to reflect, based on this input, there's something that I could or would do.
Did I provide bad customer service? Could I have done something different?
Yeah. And sometimes maybe you did everything in your power, and that's okay. And that person has their own stuff that they need to do. So,
well, and that's where you respond and you say, we tried our best. We're sorry that it did not meet your criteria. We wish you well.
Yes.
Never, ever, 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 ever get into a pissing match with somebody. Because that's just not, and I've had people who have said, why haven't you responded in a more forceful way? No, take the high road. Always, always take the high road. And I think that's, and it's hard, right? But the funny thing is kind of back to that whole word of mouth thing. When, I don't have to defend myself because my supporters will defend me.
Yeah.
And, and I love that when that happens, and I always make sure I thank them and things like that. But yeah, you want somebody else to say, no, you seem to have misunderstood or something like that, as opposed to doing it yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So, how do, and you're talking specifically about wellness and health. How do you build a robust wellness practice?
Well, starts with that niching process,
Mm-hmm.
right? So even in, I work with a wide variety of health professionals.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody from those that are coming directly maybe out of their training program
Mm-hmm.
in the functional health space and
Mm-hmm.
wanting to get started in their business, having some clarity around who your ideal audience
Mm-hmm.
is, speak eloquently
Mm-hmm.
them and start to connect with them.
Mm-hmm.
And again, like know where to go market yourself,
Mm-hmm.
and in a word of mouth referral
Mm-hmm.
capacity, right? Like it is the foundation
Mm-hmm.
of building a business from the beginning.
Right.
Also then helps to guide the design of what would your offers be? How
Mm-hmm.
are you work with somebody
Mm-hmm.
when we have this ideal person in mind, this niche? You're going to attract a common person
Mm-hmm.
that has common problems, that needs similar
Mm-hmm.
solutions. So you know exactly what to put in a package, what
Mm-hmm.
lab tests you're going to do, how many sessions that they
Mm-hmm.
need. What does that structure look like?
Mm-hmm.
Which I Deb, in the beginning gives people the confidence
Mm-hmm.
that they need in order to go out and talk about themselves and
Right.
talk about services. It's when they don't have that clarity, when
Mm-hmm.
they don't know what's coming,
Mm-hmm.
what the roadmap looks like,
Mm-hmm.
is that is a stumbling block that they don't always
Mm-hmm.
recognize is happening. To even, I've worked with some very successful 7-figure health businesses,
Mm-hmm.
everything from brick and mortars to virtual
Mm-hmm.
practices. And in those capacities, what's often happening is that those health professionals are in a state of burnout.
Right.
They're
They've
burnt,
kind of reached a certain point and they're like, ah.
and that might be like they got started, a lot of them got started sometimes as a traditional conventional practice.
Mm-hmm.
The insurance-based industry, they want to move into cash-based functional
Mm-hmm.
medicine. Sometimes they just landed on some success because of the area that they're in.
Mm-hmm.
They were a nuanced service, so
Right.
they attracting a lot of local
Mm-hmm.
business. But in those instances, they are burnt out because a lot of times they're not niched down. They're trying to serve everybody. And a lot of times they're doing fee for service. So it's this constant like, like inconsistency with incomes, money coming in and out, people not they're losing as many people as are that are coming in the doors.
Yeah, that churn is just, and they worry about it.
Exactly. And their team is spread thin. And so to alleviate that, we go back into okay, what is your narrow niche? Or now we can work most efficiently and most effectively, which break the cycle of burnout. Also going to help you elevate up in your business. Gives you the ability to template, delegate, and with systems so that you can actually work more efficiently, effectively to scale your business.
Right.
Not be tied to it as well. So I think I answered your question. I kind of
you did. Yeah. It is, and then it's when it works, repeat it. And that's the other thing that I think a lot of people have trouble with is the bright, shiny object syndrome, I have to be on TikTok. I have to do this. I have to do that. Now, it's not to say you shouldn't be watching those things because you might need to transition to them, but don't switch to them just because somebody else did. And I think that's one of the things. It's really funny. It'd be what 12-ish years ago when social media really first started. And I told people, yeah, I'm going to focus my marketing practice on social media for business.
Mhm.
And I had other people in that industry, in the marketing industry, say, "Oh my God, that's a waste of time. That's never going to happen." And I
Yeah.
went, "Okay." Um, but I saw it as the good place to go. Now, did they catch up? Some did, some went away. I mean, because they refused. But you need to find it's, you said it before, find what works for you. I like being on social a little bit. I'm on Facebook and I'm on LinkedIn. I have an Instagram account that I'm not sure I could get back into. And like I said, I have no TikTok and some of those other things. I didn't even know what they are anymore. But yeah, you'll find what works and continue it. That it's confusing. Your messaging gets very confusing when you're jumping from place to place to place. And then the people who are trying to work with you they get confused, and so they go somebody else.
Mhm. Yeah, exactly. And that is the downside to not being niched down, is that people don't like understand what you do, so they are going to go to somebody
Mm-hmm.
else, right? And so it's that clear
Mm-hmm.
communication.
Right. Right. Well, and speaking of communication, the thing that people really tend to forget is they have to have clear marketing messaging.
Yes.
And that comes from knowing exactly who you're talking to.
Yes.
But how many times do we see the "I don't know who they're selling to" type of message, whether, or it's the wrong one. I always marvel when I'm watching TV, and especially like at Christmas time, right? So I'm watching late night TV at Christmas time, and a commercial for children's toys comes on, and I'm thinking, I don't think I'm the market for that. Now, maybe I would buy it for a child in my life, but at Christmas, you buy toys because somebody says, "Buy that for me, buy that for me," right? And so you want your advertising to match that. Another example that I have used before is not too far from us is the jail, the Cobb County Jail.
Oh.
Across now, it's actually far enough away you don't worry about anything, but I have to go past it several times when it's just one of my routes. And I noticed one time that there is a billboard that is there, and it is for a bail bondsman. And I finally realized, because I talked to some people who kind of knew what, some things like that, because I network with police officers and people like that. And they said, funny thing, when you get your one phone call and you're looking out the window, that's the billboard you see.
Yeah.
And so, that one billboard may be the only marketing that bail bonds ever has to do. But, if they had it in a different place, if they didn't put their phone number, right? If they put their website, I'm sorry, I get a phone call. I don't get a website. And not that I know, I've never been to jail, but yeah, it's, you need to have your message where the people who need to read it are going to read it or see it or hear it or do whatever.
Right. Right. Yes, exactly. And how can you make it memorable?
Mm-hmm.
So,
Mm-hmm.
right. Is
Right. Mm-hmm.
that's the connection that you create, and
Mm-hmm.
like that you're using, and
Mm-hmm.
all that comes from like that
Mm-hmm.
magnetism really comes from
Mm-hmm.
being who your ideal person is, and the words that they're using. It's
Right.
so to me, um, like verbatim sometimes how people show up in my business, like using the words that go through my head or that I've
Mm-hmm.
spoken to myself
Mm-hmm.
sometimes, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
I have this wonderful example of, like, in my health business, I talk about, my health journey. And one of the kind of experiences that I had was when skinny jeans came out on the scene, when they came trendy. I never thought that I was going to be able to wear a pair
Mm-hmm.
because I struggled with maintaining my
You're a
weight.
little curvy.
Yeah, a little curvy. Struggled with maintaining my ideal weight despite being, in the fitness industry, and this
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
that was a part of all the things that were going on in my
Mm-hmm.
body, cancer and everything. And ultimately that's like the only thing that I own now is skinny jeans. But
Ooh, I love it. Mm-hmm.
I had, like, one of my clients showed up and we were talking about her goals in her
Mm-hmm.
consultation. She said, I just want to be able to wear my skinny jeans and my tall boots in the fall and not feel like a stuffed sausage. And I'm like, similar
My
experience.
person.
We're thinking along the same lines, literally
Mhm.
using some of the same words.
Mhm.
And that's what, attracts them. Like, think about that billboard. It's like
Mhm.
a billboard that said, wear skinny jeans without fear or
Mhm.
comfortable in them. Like
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
would talk about my ideal women into my
Mhm.
clientele, right? So
Right.
so important the messaging is so important
Mhm.
and that's from being clear on your niche.
Right. Well, and if she had told you the opposite, I have trouble putting on weight, I'm a size 0, we hate those people. But we've seen that, right? Where people and I have a very dear friend who struggles to actually keep weight on, and she can eat me under the table. I mean, and so you really hate him, but yeah, so there is kind of that disconnect. You're not quite sure what to say. And again, that's where it works to say, I have this perfect person to refer you to.
Yes.
And you're not, when I have done that before, I've always had somebody say, you gave business away. Well, yeah,
Yeah.
but everybody remembers that, right? She's going to remember and refer somebody back to me, and the person that got the business is going to remember and hopefully refer business back. So it's not that you gave business away. And again, I wasn't going to do the best job for her, so why would I even want to do it?
I mean, what's interesting in that respect is that this client that I just mentioned about skinny jeans, she came to work with me to reach some of those initial goals, getting to her ideal health and weight. And we got to that point. She said, okay, now I'm ready I want to get pregnant. She like get down to her to get married. And she wanted to get pregnant. And I could have, in that moment, stepped outside of my niche area and work with her, but I didn't.
Right, because that's not your expertise.
Correct. I said, could I have figured it out?
Right.
Yes. Like, I had the health skills and the knowledge and the to do that. But I said, you know what? I was like, that's not my area of expertise. I can refer you to a colleague of mine who specializes in this area. So she went to work with Dr. Amama and got pregnant.
Yay!
And she just came back to me. Her child is
right, because now she needs to trim back down a little.
exactly. She's like, I need to lose the baby weight and prep my body for my second one. I said, great, let's do that work. And then now you kind of know the fertility stuff. So if you
Right.
back to a mama, and we just have this beautiful collaboration. I love that,
Right.
So
And I love that. And because it is about how can we best serve others? That's ultimately what it comes down to. And when we serve them well, they will compensate us. That is the other thing. So since we only have about 5 minutes left, with our bumps and hiccups along the way, I think we've only got about 5 minutes left. How do people find you, and what are the services that you provide?
yeah. Well, as I mentioned earlier, I love Instagram personally myself. So if you're a fan of social media, you can come connect with me on Instagram. I'm very active over there. I have my Instagram account. Our handle is Wholistic Health Boss, and holistic is with a W, like whole foods or whole person. And are specifically for some of the business coaching and mentorship that I provide. We also have Health Boss Institute. So we have an Instagram account for that as well too, or a page where we're sharing specifically all of the business type of stuff for health professionals that we talked about today, versus my independent holistic health boss is going to be a blend of health and business, which I love that. And then like mirroring that, we have 2 websites, holistichealthboss.com and Health Business Boss Institute, that reflect both of those social media accounts and the kind of differences between those, where you can connect with me as well too.
I love it. And I was looking at Holistic Health Boss with a W, .com, and you've got so many other great resources there. And I think that's one of the things that people forget is somebody might not be able to work with you, want to work with you, all those things, that doesn't mean you still can't provide them some resources like blog posts and all sorts of things. So, how are ways that you can help people? And I just love that. Well, Jenn, this really has been a delightful conversation. I hope we have shown people just how important a lot of these things are. We want you to be successful in your business, but there are steps that you have to take in order to do that. And so Jenn has so much great information. Love to have you on again. But, what final thoughts would you leave everyone with?
The final thoughts that I would leave everybody with as, we close out here is kind of where we started, is that in whatever capacity of work that you're doing, it is so critically important for you to take care of yourself. And that's a little bit of my, health practitioner side of me speaking, as well as the, the business coach mentorship side, is that in order to do your best work in whatever industry that you're in, we've got to take care of ourselves. So how can you look at designing your business in a way that gives you the ability to do that, right? Because there are so many people out there that need you, and you can only show up if you're well. And so I really encourage the people listening to really think about that,
I love it. So much fun. So much fun. Well, I'm Deb Creer. I've been having a fabulous conversation with Jenn Malecha of the Wholistic Health Boss. And until next time, everyone have a great day.
Tune in for our next program for even more trends, best practices, and techniques for how to make your business a success. The Business Power Hour, hosted by Deb Creer, is proud to be part of the C-Suite Network.